I'm joined by the amazing Enoch, otherwise known as Knox, a multidisciplinary musician and producer, and we are in the gorgeous Crypt Studios in London. So basically, what the music you'll be making is an immaculate fusion of retro influences, and you're a big name in the mellow R&B and chilled hop scene.
Oh, thank you.
And you're also an architectural designer by day, an avid chef, and a retired semi-professional basketball player.
Yeah, I kind of do a lot sometimes.
Where do you find the time?
I don't know. I
Somewhere.
just make time, you know.
So yeah, as well as your amazing releases, recent Vibes Don't Lie, check it out. You've won the hearts of the online community with January, Coffee, Beans and Bops, and various other amazing mashups that you let us into your world on YouTube and your amazing YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But today we want to talk a little bit about your sampling processes and maybe some 10-minute challenge action.
Ooh, come on, let's go.
Yeah, okay,
I'm ready.
sick. So when you're sampling, which you're obviously very known for, I've seen some amazing videos of you sampling and using other people's samples as well. What do you look for initially in a sampling process?
It depends really. Like sometimes I usually just listen to a track and hear a 1 second clip of it and go, if that was looped like 10 times and then reversed at the end, that would have, you know, generated a whole different vibe. And then I try it and sometimes it tanks and sometimes it's great. But most times I don't go out looking for it. I literally try and live my life off this cheesy quote, which is ideas don't come to you. You don't choose your ideas come to you. You're either gonna accept it and, you know, work on it, or it's gonna just float away to someone else. And then you're left with, you know, thinking about what if I had actually dwelt on that idea. So I like to, you know, just embrace everything I do, which is like you mentioned from the start, you know, the whole basketball, being an architect, you know, chefing things up in the kitchen as well. As I'm living my life, I'm also like thinking about, you know, the sonics that are involved, and that's where the inspiration kind of comes from. So I don't necessarily go out looking for samples. I do sometimes. Those sessions, I struggle a lot when I'm like, I need to make something.
Too much pressure.
Yeah, too much pressure. I'm just like sitting there like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. But the times when I'm literally just waking up from bed and something just drops on me, or I just hear like my neighbors playing a certain track and I'm like shazamming the whole thing to try and see what it is, and, you know, and then sampling it, then yeah, I feel like it comes a lot more natural, and then I'm able to express myself a lot more.
Amazing.
With that. Yeah.
And with music making in general, like what brought you to making music in the first place? What were your influences?
Started at a very young age, very young age. When I was 3, I believe my mum said I was banging pots and pans in the kitchen, and she wouldn't stop me because it was actually a groove.
Decent, yeah.
So I'll take that, you know. But then my parents were very fortunate to recognize that I was musical from a young age, and they just started buying me loads of instruments, and I was outgrowing them quickly. And then my cousins, who were big guitarists, they're amazing musicians themselves, they had a huge vinyl collection. And whenever I went over for the weekend or for holiday, they would play loads of stuff, you know, Sam Cooke's, you know, they'd play a lot of heavily gospel inspired like music, R&B, soul, funk, all that kind of stuff. So we'll be cleaning the house in the kitchen, and that will be playing in the background, but then I would be concentrating because I'm like, oh, I like that chop. Oh, I like that sample, you know. Oh, that guitar lick could go on a dance track instead of a, you know. So I'm always constantly trying to pick things left, right, and center from whatever it is that I'm listening to. But then growing up, you know, I started listening to a lot of R&B, a lot of hip hop, a lot of funk, Pharrell Williams, Timbaland, Dark Child, The Chords, Quincy Jones. And then a lot of African artists, because I lived in Nigeria for a bit, and the way that they approach music is a lot different. Like they're all about like the feeling, you know, the groove, the vibe, and that just kind of influenced a lot of, especially my drum patterns and perks and whatever. But yeah, I think in general, I've got like a nice little mix of, you know, the gospel, the church, the grooves, the spiritual side of it, but then also the real life influences like the Timbalands and, you know, the rest of them.
So it's interesting you mentioned Timbaland as well, because I recently watched a video about him sampling Birdsong and also the classic, is it the Aaliyah baby sound as well? So do you think that's a large part of why sampling is such a huge...
Definitely. I mean, he produces a lot of stuff based off of samples. And the way that he samples is it's either very influential in the track, you can hear it, it's obvious, or it's very subtle and it informs the track. So those are the two ways that I kind of go about sampling. It's either I make it very obvious that, okay, I picked this, I'm sampling it, I want you to know that I sampled it, making it obvious, and that's going to inform the track. Or it's something very subtle that you probably wouldn't even recognize, but then when I break it down, you'll go, oh, okay, yeah, that kind of does make sense. Yeah, but he's very influential when it comes to sampling and just the way that I kind of approach most of my stuff.
So I'm kind of fascinated how you approach processing sounds.
Yeah.
Can we see any insight into like how you approach certain samples?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's get into
we could.
Yes.
Let's see. I will start off with a subtle sample, which is kind of, I mentioned how there are two types, the obvious one and then the one that's quite subtle.
Yeah.
So I was on holiday at Mykonos, and at this amazing hotel, they had loads of African instruments there.
Oh, wow.
It was so random.
Amazing.
Absolutely random. But then rather than going to enjoy my holiday, I decided, you know what, I want to make something. So my friends were like, hurry up, let's go. I'm like, give me 30 seconds. Let me do something. And then I started off with this little loop here. So
I really appreciate other people's color coding and projects, you know.
It's all about the color coding.
It is. It is.
So we started off with this. Nice little, groove.
Fluffy, kind of.
Yeah, a bit of texture. You know, it's just different when you're like playing it when you're with your hand. You can kind of like control the velocity and all of that. And then it picked up, and I went to.
Gorgeous.
So it's still got the same pattern as the drum.
Yeah.
But then it's filling it up where the drum kind of goes, a bit lower on the velocity. So if I put both of them together.
Yeah, good.
So then I was like, okay, this is great. I need to do something with this. I started getting excited. And then carried on messing with what do they call it? Is it kalimba?
Kalimba, yeah.
Is it kalimba, right?
Or Mbira, which one's the thumb piano?
I don't know, I think it's kalimba.
Yeah,
I
feel it.
Yeah.
Lots of nods. For those of you watching, there's lots of nods.
And then, you hear that?
Wow, yeah.
So it's kind of like just giving the whole vibe of the whole thing. So once you listen to this, you're thinking, where could this go? Like, what's the direction? Like, how can it inform the whole track, right? But then I'll play the whole thing, and then you'll kind of like get an idea of how where it sits in the track.
Oof. Yeah, that is gorgeous.
And it's all down to the kalimba, marimba thing, what it's called. And it just kind of like informs the movement, the vibe, everything kind of involved. So this is an example of like a subtle sampling where I get a piece that kind of informs, the track itself. And then
I can see you do a lot of cleaning up. There's compression.
Yeah.
I'm a little spy.
Yeah.
I'm a device spy.
Go for it. Sick. There's a lot of compression.
Tight EQs.
There's a widening to kind of like give it a bit of space. I'll get into the processing a little bit later on. I'll just show you another example. And then we've got another one where I have taken kind of like the example where I mentioned that when I listen to a track, I can pick out like a 1 second snippet and just imagine if that's like, looping and then turning that into, something.
Yeah, amazing.
You're not going to be ready for this, but I'm just going to play.
Amazing.
Yeah, at this moment, I thought, okay, here.
Oh! You've made me like this tune. It ruined my childhood, and now I forgive it. Yeah, that's hard.
So this is a combination of a sample that's very like in your face.
Yeah.
I want you to know what the sample is, but at the same time, you have elements that underneath, you know, that kind of like just give you that ear candy.
Yeah.
You know, so you still have like the elements of the original in there, and yeah, it's. I was literally playing it in the morning, and I heard that little bit, and I went, I need to do something with that.
Yeah, man. Really sick.
Yeah, so that's an example of, you know, two different types of sampling, and personally, I kind of prefer the subtle ones where you can't really tell what it is, because then it leaves people guessing.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
what is this? What is this sample? I'll play one more.
I could do this all night. Amazing.
So similar to the last one. Boyz II Men, you know, and then pick the last part.
Ah, so nice. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Now the good thing about this is I don't think I would have been able to generate this if I didn't have the push.
Right.
Like, the reason being, when I chopped it up, I just started, you know, finding all the pockets of where the samples are, and I tried to kind of just let that inform the track. Now, some people sample directly straight in Ableton, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. But sometimes when you're sampling in on the push, it just makes it a little bit easier, and I'll just try and demonstrate that real quick. So you've got the main sample here.
Something about R&B up there at the top, pitched up. It's just a
know,
delight.
Right? And then once it's sliced up,
Sick.
I mean, you can change
So it's automatically slicing up. So there's something that's simpler. This is a device called Simpler, which automatically will slice by transient or beat, whichever you prefer. And it's just automatically made these gorgeous slices into
you can
corresponding to
adjust
the buttons.
the sensitivity so that it kind of gives you space for the sample to kind of breathe a little bit longer. Personally, I like it to have a bit more space so that you can kind of like, you know, control it.
Yeah.
But I would not have been able to find, you know, the pockets of spaces if not for the push itself. So that was definitely an advantage when it comes to producing samples for tracks. But then you also have when I'm doing like remixes to tracks and stuff, where you take the actual vocal and you put it on a track. I'll just play that one. I know I said last one. This is the last one.
No, yeah. Like I said, I could do this all night.
This is definitely the last one.
So that's cool. You're taking the whole stem of a remix, so maybe the whole vocal, and approaching it in the same way.
And approaching it the same way.
Right,
So
okay,
rather than, you know, doing a remix, making a beat, and then putting the vocal on top of it, you can actually, you know, chop up the sample, the vocal itself, and make that a sample, so it's part of the beat. And that's where this was kind of like birthed.
Love this. Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, so it's kind of taking an element that everyone is aware of. Everyone knows the song, you know, but then using the vocals as a sample rather than just, you know, trying to do
Fitting things around it as it sits there. Yeah.
So then it just becomes part of the track itself. So it becomes like this holistic like approach rather than it being like you've got the beat and then you've got the vocal kind of thing. But,
it's amazing. It's super playful as well. You can tell that that's, now that you've said that as well, there's a very fun, playful nature to how you've handled those. And again, if you're using something manual like that, that inevitably will come across.
Yeah. Especially when you're using the push, you can definitely have fun with it. You know, play around with it. And most of the times, when I open up a session and I'm just trying to make something, I don't go with the intention of I'm trying to produce X, Y, you know, Z or whatever it is. I'm going there thinking I want to experiment. I want to find whatever it is I'm feeling, you know, whether I'm feeling happy, sad, emotional, you know, channel that into the sample, into the push. And it's just something that feels a lot better when you're kind of in control, but not in control about the way things kind of, you know, turn out. And then it just gives you a whole like different perspective of, oh, I could do this, oh, I could do that. And yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, well, good. Amazing.
The way that I approach sound design, I don't pull things out.
Okay.
So I do stuff destructively, but deliberately, because I feel like when you have the option to change stuff, then you start like fiddling and you know, going back and like, maybe I should change the sound. Oh, maybe nah. Once you feel, I feel like once you feel a certain way, a certain mood, lock it in, put it in. If that's not working, save it or delete it, start again.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. It's much more strict than I've been. I'm sure there's people out there as well who've got things sitting on their hard drive because it's like, well, I could just tweak it a few more times for a month. That's a really good way.
I just, you know, get the sample, get everything done, print it in. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to have the original file anymore because I could go in and start changing it and it would just change the whole vibe. So
the discipline. I admire it. I really do. Sick. We have Chrissy in the chat who'd like to know would you say sampling is a great way of introducing people to both old and new music as it tends to blend genres? Great question.
It does. It actually does. And I started a whole new different approach to, I don't want to call it DJing because I don't see myself as a DJ.
No one ever does. That's the key. That's a sign that you're a good DJ if you can't even call yourself a DJ.
Is it?
Yeah, you can't bear it. Call yourself a disc jockey. It sounds weird.
No, I can't.
No.
Do it.
No, I reckon you can DJ.
But I started doing mashups, right? On and started posting them on my social media channels, and it was deliberate because it was a case where I wanted to fuse new stuff with old beats, or old beats with new stuff, and that started like opening a lot of discussions from people thinking, oh my God, I never thought this track would fit with this track. Oh my God, I haven't heard this song in a long time. Like, who is this artist? Who is this? So it kind of like, you know, brings people that would prefer, let's say, rock, for example, when I fuse that with R&B and hip hop, and they go, oh, okay, yeah, you're tickling my earbuds right now. That, you know, I like that. So yes, I think when you kind of blend genres, I think we are entering an era in music where it's becoming genreless. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Genreless?
It is now if it wasn't.
Genreless.
I love it.
I think that, yes, you kind of bring people together, and I think that's the beauty of it, where you have like a mixed crowd and everyone's just loving the music because there's just the vibe.
Because there are a lot of rules in genres as well, and we're seeing a lot of them be broken down. You know, you can have the rules of how one would produce or handle R&B, again, mixed with rock. That's going to make something really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the Collision Theory, Jay-Z and Linkin Park, that was the...
Yeah, I was thinking that.
You know, that's where everything just went, you know, open the floodgates. So I think that, yeah, we need to experiment more. Like, you know, don't put yourself in a box and say, I produce this kind of music. Like, if you're a dance producer and all you produce is dance, and you hear an R&B guy doing some gospel licks, record it, take it, flip it, put it in the dance track. Yeah. You'll be surprised what you come out with.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, great. I was going to ask if perhaps we could have a little bit of insight into these 10-minute challenges. That's when I first became aware of you. I saw some challenges online. Did they start in lockdown?
They did. Yeah. The whole January thing started in lockdown because obviously I was bored, didn't have anything to do. So I started challenging myself to produce a piece of musical content every day for all of January.
Amazing.
And it was stressful.
It's a lot.
It was stressful. There's some days I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But you know, commitment. You gotta stick to it. But what I noticed was those moments. That's when I produce some of my best stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've heard this from people as well.
Yeah, when I'm like, oh, I don't want to open Ableton anymore. But then I actually fire it up and I just get inspired. And next thing I know, I'm like, this is it. This is a track, you know. So that's how it kind of started. And it's just kind of, evolved after that. And I've just been branching into, different things left and right. But yeah, that was like the core, start of it during lockdown, yeah.
And so that transitioned into Coffee Beans and Bops as well. So there's still this really amazing, improvisational element to what you do as well.
Yeah, there is, because I was thinking about how to make it quite interesting, because I didn't want producing a track every day. I didn't want to kind of just end up producing 500 R&B tracks or dance tracks or whatever. So I kind of gave a task every day. One of the tasks was on Sundays, because it's more chilled, while I'm making coffee. I'm like, what do I want to listen to while I'm making coffee? I listen to like a nice little lo-fi, chill, hop kind of beat. Oh, I'm going to start making that. And then that just became a tradition. Like every Sunday, a lo-fi, boom bap kind of beat comes in, and I create that, and then that I just like, put that on social media, and that becomes like some form of like tradition. But then another tradition that kind of, I say tradition, not really tradition, say that loosely. I asked people to send me samples, random samples, and I told them I'm going to make a track out of it. And I got the wildest samples. People sent, my friend sent me, I need to show you this.
Yeah.
My friend sent me some of her dog. People sent me clips of them drinking water. People sent me like keys on a table. Like they're insane, absolutely insane. But I was able to kind of put together something. I want you to tell me if you can recognize any of these samples, right? No looking, you can't look.
I won't. I actually I'm not letting myself look.
What do you think this is?
Something dragging. No.
No? That's a fan.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Have you done something to it?
Yeah. Process it.
Yes, I have.
Of course I have. Yes,
you've done loads,
I've done loads on it.
Reverb, EQ, delays.
Yep.
Sick.
Ping pong to give you that kind of like bouncy effect. But that was a standing fan, and they just sent me a recording of it, and then I just, dragged the
amazing.
the attack a little bit lower to kind of like give you that sweepy effect, and then I turned that into like a riser for the track. This is quite funny.
Looking away again.
You could tell me what that is.
Sounds like one of my old housemates drinking. Really made a meal of it. He really did. Oh no, is that a dog shaking?
That's the ear dog.
The ears.
Yeah. So
amazing.
that just like turned into like a feel. So this is a whole track that was produced from random samples that was sent to me, heavily processed here and there to kind of get, the feel for it. And then when we wait for it at the end, this guy sent me him playing violin, and it was so beautiful.
Amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting challenge, and I could just show you real quick about like some of the processing, especially like, let's say for the kick, which happened to be someone's cat dropping on the floor.
They do that.
The initial sound is the entire sample is, let's see.
It's wild when you go back on what you've done and how it started, isn't it?
Let's see if I can get the whole. Yeah. So she just drops. So I was like, all right, you know what? That's my kick. And then, I EQ'd it to take out some of the unwanted frequencies.
Nice.
It's already sounding quite nice. But then I love a bit of a thump on my kick, like,
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
And I added a sub to that. gives it a bit of a thump, and then just remove some of the
Amazing.
low end again on that. And before you know it,
crisp.
you've got a cat kick.
Yeah, amazing. Love that. I think we've got time for another quick question. I'm sorry if I'm missing some of the others. I do apologise. Oh, Schmohawk would like to know, do you have a certain workflow you tend to follow when starting a new track? So, for example, do you start with drums first or a hook and then work your sample around it?
That is a very good question. I think realistically, I don't. I don't have a set way. I was in a session the other day and both of the artists were literally talking about their breakups. And I was like, I don't want to hear this. So I just turned around and started just, trying to come up with something. They were deep in conversations. I was like, we're supposed to be making music, guys. Like, this isn't a therapy session. So, but then I thought, you know what? I could be the soundtrack to this conversation. So then I started playing some keys that made the conversation go a little bit deeper and everything.
Okay.
Before you know it, start playing some bass licks. Before you know it, they're like, oh, what are you doing? This is amazing. So I don't necessarily have a set way to kind of go. Depends on what it is.
What the stimulus is.
Yeah, like there has to be a catalyst that drops in the whole session that then makes me go, you know what, I could build something around this, and then that's going to turn into something else. I find it that I struggle when you say, let's make a dance track today. I'm like,
Yeah, pressure, innit?
okay, we can make it. It might not have a bit of feeling and everything into it, but if let's say, we've just had 10 coffees and we're just buzzing, we're like, oh, you know what? I feel like I'll be able to, we'll be able to come up with something related to that. So I wouldn't say that I've got a set way to kind of produce tracks. It's all down to the feeling for me.
Yeah.
I have to feel something and then...
I think that's true of a lot of people. I'm a vocalist and I immediately, as soon as I hear gorgeous chords, I think naturally it's good to just take the time when you're making music to think about what actually really stimulates you, just as you've been saying. Because for me, beautiful chords, I'm like, oh, what are they?
Yeah.
And I start singing or wanting to put something over it, but sometimes a beat will be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's whatever you're feeling, as you say.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
The more you make music and just sit down and try and start things, you'll start to realize you have a pattern of when things start to really come into play.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as chords down or whatever, great question though. So I think we want to talk about these 10-minute challenges. I kind of want to see one. Would you be up for taking us into that journey?
Yeah.
We're surrounded by
We can try
samples.
something.
Yeah?
I mean, there are loads of keys around and everything, but I'm happy to see if we can try something. Are you going to time me or what?
I can time you with my eyes in the background.
Yeah,
Or
just
like make noises.
you've got 10 seconds left.
Okay.
Add the reverb,
Yeah,
add the reverb.
we can time you. I'm going to get out of the way though, because I feel like you want space.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. So for anyone who doesn't already know, this is related to the 10-minute challenges that Nox has been letting us into the world of on YouTube and other platforms. But yeah, it's an incredible. I think it's a really good way as well of actually getting, for those of you using Push or starting on Ableton and you feel like you hit a wall sometimes. I think giving yourself really limited amounts of time is really, really effective.
Yeah,
So
and the goal isn't necessarily to come out with a polished track.
Exactly.
You could come out with a very, very good sample that you could then work on later on. You could come out with some chords that you're like, okay, you know what? After dinner, I'm going to work on that. But you've given yourself a time frame to literally channel your energy and your creativity to come up with something that you can then use later on. If you can come up with a full track, good on you. Some people do that, and I'm like, yeah, great. But it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, it's putting that pressure on yourself won't be. I think that would be a happy coincidence or a happy outcome, definitely.
I agree. Right,
I'm going to get out of your way. I want to see the
Okay.
magic happen, but I'll make some sort of enchanting noise.
Yeah,
Some sort of sample.
just a wave. Oh, we've got a timer. Don't start. Wait.
10 seconds in, mate.
All right, ready? Let's go. What am I in the mood for today, actually? No pressure. Okay, let's see. Let's start off with some pads.
I'm going to start you now.
This is going to be interesting. Actually, yeah. Let's get a tempo in. We're going to leave that looping in because because we're only going to make a 4-bar loop. Guys, stick with me. It's gonna make sense in the end, hopefully. Okay. Okay, this is beginning to take shape. And now for the ugh, I've had too much coffee, that's why.
I like it.
Now, you're probably thinking this is a dance track. You'll be shocked. Okay. Let me know when it's on 5 minutes.
Unlock that sinus phone. Now you good, you're on.
You good. 1, 2, 3, and now this is where it gets interesting. I'm going to record all of this and sample it.
So resampling yourself.
I'm resampling myself. And let's get that in. Now it might be very rough, but that's the whole idea, to kind of just get a bit of an idea down. Right, let's get rid of all the originals, and we now have this sample going. Oh God. Okay.
Amazing. So you pitched it down, slowed it down.
Yep. All right, let's get kicking. Let's get a vibe going. There we go. And get a rim. Okay. clashing with the bass. Oh, there we go. See what I was saying about like letting the sample just do the breathing?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was clashing with the bass, so then I had to kind of just let the sample dictate what I can actually do for like, you know, the drums and the drum pattern. Rather than fight it, I just had to give in. How long do I have left?
You have 2.5 minutes.
Ooh. Okay. This is the gorgeous, beautiful part about making music. Going through sounds and trying to find something that works. Everyone loves this bit. Okay, let's throw in a delay, ping pong, some reverb. Ah! Ah!
You've got 1.5 minutes.
That sounds beautiful. All right. Oh, I pitched it. Oh my God. I totally forgot I pitched it. That'll be it.
1 minute.
Don't do that. Wait. Don't tell me the time.
20 seconds.
Wait.
Can't stop time, man.
We're done.
Yeah, sick. Amazing. Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with this, you know.
I like it.
Yeah?
Super mellow. But
I thought I was going to do something like dance related, but then I was like, no, I'm not about to do some two-step. I don't think people are ready for that.
But it was a good insight into the fact that I could see that it was leading, like you said, like the sample itself started to lead you that way. And it's like watching someone just follow that flow is really, really amazing and very inspired. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amazing. Samantha is asking, what do you use to record your sounds?
We're talking microphone?
I guess so, yeah. Is it like a Zoom situation or?
I've got the Shure, the trusted SM 750, is it 57?
There's so many of them. SM57's the one with the thing around it, isn't it? The sort of cagey bit at the top.
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
Yeah. Basically, the mic you see in every single podcast.
Right.
You know, we've got that. And I am planning on getting a few more, but I feel like whatever microphone works. I've recorded stuff with my phone before.
Phone recorders are really good now.
They're getting scarily good.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little tip. Put a piece of cloth over it and then record.
Oh, you heard it here. Amazing. Yeah, I'm trying that. Always have a piece of cloth with me at all times. And we also have a really great question. How does copyright come into play if you're sampling other artists' work?
That is a very, very good question. So most of the time when I'm sampling people's work, it's just for the fun of it. I have no intentions of selling it or making a profit, or I'm just having fun kind of thing. But it's a little bit annoying because it gets to a point where there's that pressure, and every single time I drop something, everyone's like, when is it coming out? Spotify, Apple Music, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, put pressure on Bill Withers, not me.
Yeah, tag them, tag them in the comments, drop in their DMs and say, you know what, this guy did this amazing mix. We want the full version, let it out. And there's just so much pressure. TikTok, Instagram, everyone in the comments just going, oh my God, this is amazing. Where's the full version? I'm like, well, I can, thankfully, SoundCloud and YouTube, you can kind of put stuff on there as long as you give the attribution to the original creators. That's fine. So most of the time you find my stuff over there. But please, 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 please do not release anything without anyone's permission. Whether it's a big artist or your cousin.
You never know.
Don't do it, because your cousin could come for you and you'll be in a lot of trouble.
There's situations like that where people have sampled things, not realised how big they'd get, they've gone massive, and then the person who owned it has appeared.
Absolutely.
So you just never know, really.
Yeah, please get clearance if you can. If you can't, then just put it somewhere.
Under a certain amount of seconds, though, I think is fair game, isn't it? If the sample's under a certain amount of seconds.
I think so, yes.
I think it's under 2, or maybe if it's a second.
I think it's a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Celine won't catch you now.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot you can fit in a second, but some people are still a bit ruthless with it.
Yeah.
If they pick it, especially with algorithms now, they can pick up samples real quick. But if you process it quite well, you just.
Yes. You didn't hear it here first.
You didn't hear it first? No, I didn't say that.
Amazing. Great question. I think this is a great. When do you know that your track is finished?
It's never finished.
It's never over, baby.
It's never finished. I'm an architect by trade, and a design is never complete. You will carry on tweaking, you will carry on drawing, even when the client's like, "Congratulations, you've got the job." You're like, I need to change a few things. People tell you to chill out. No, a track is never finished. I feel like a track is finished when you can leave it playing for, personally, over 30 minutes and not changing anything.
Right. Okay.
So most times, if I can leave a track playing and then go do something, go cook or go chill, and it's playing in the background and I'm just loving it and I don't want to change anything, I'm closing the laptop, that's it.
Yeah.
Job's been done.
Yeah, great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice. Amazing. We also have someone mentioning here, this is Tafadzwa is asking, interesting that you mentioned the Mbira. Any new instruments you're keen to incorporate into future projects?
I am so into new instruments, and there's a guy called Count Cole on Instagram. His studio, the day he invites me, I'm going to rob it. He's literally got a lot of crazy instruments, a lot of crazy stuff, and it's just so fascinating to watch him work, the way he samples everything, and it's so inspiring. Unfortunately, my flat's not big enough, but it will get there. I plan on gathering loads of instruments, especially when I go away on holiday and stuff. I always like to see what other people are producing, what they're using, and then sample that and turn it into something different. So in the future, yes, if there are instruments that people would love to see me try, let me know.
Yep.
I'll try and source it and do something.
That sounds great. Really good. AJ is asking, saying he's an olderish guy trying to learn Ableton. I find it great fun, he says, but I feel I'm hardly touching the features. How long does it take to get to grips with all the features? I'm
going to be completely honest with you, AJ. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
There are some features that people post snippets of, and I'm like, Ableton could do that?
Yeah. It is endless. God. It is.
There was one that, I don't know if we've got time for it. There was a little trick that I learned. I would have loved to show it. But it's basically letting a note kind of show it. Can I show it? We got time? We got time? Yeah? All right, let me show it. When this was a game changer, guys. I'm even excited. Look at how grinning.
You could not show it after saying it's a game changer. Yeah, no, it's sick.
Okay, let's say, for example, this is going to work with the sampler. So we get, where is the sampler? So we'll drop a sampler in there.
Sampler is more of an extended version of what we've just seen in the Simpler. It has a lot more features to it. It's about multi-sampling as well. It's much more focused on that. Whereas Simpler it's simpler, scenario where it's more about just drag it in and play. It has less features, but still a really powerful device.
So let's, I'll just pick this for now, so because we don't have much time. And then you add, let's see if I can remember this. Yeah, there we go. You add a velocity to it. Crank that up.
Velocity's
Put
up
that
to 4.
to 60.
Full random.
Full random. Full random. And then you go into your MIDI and you offset that.
So
Now,
the sample offset of when it's actually being triggered.
when it's being triggered. So what happens is you could literally trigger one note, right? So rather than it, now you're literally triggering just the sample, right? But then when I put that up.
So it randomizes what, okay.
That's already like a boom bap there. Just put a nice little beat to it.
Yes.
And then what you can see it doing here is it just picks it randomly.
That's amazing. Yeah, well
So
done.
that, when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, mind blown. So yeah, AJ, you just find what kind of works for you, what you're trying to do. In the meantime, you're gonna always kind of learn. I think that's the beauty about Ableton, is kind of giving people the ability to come at it at whatever level that you're in or at. And you can kind of always grow. I don't feel I've ever hit a ceiling with Ableton.
No.
I always feel like whenever I'm like, oh, I'm at 60% or 70%, something just happens, like an update or this or that, or I find something out and I'm like, I need to go back to the drawing board, you know, and start over again. But that's the beauty of it. It gives you that canvas where you can kind of just like, you know, explore and become a lot more in tune with it. So I would just say, just stick with it and carry on messing around, and you're gonna find your flow, and it's just gonna work.
100%. I think that's, I think also the way I broke it down as well is that I looked into the audio side of things, so sampling, and tried to investigate sort of 3 ways of handling audio, or how I would interact with it, and then the MIDI side as well. And once I had that kind of foundation on both sides, then I could start to build from there as well.
Yeah.
But I would say I'd chip away at it, because I mean, you're on Ableton a lot, I'm guessing, as am I.
Yeah.
I think I've been dumped like 3 or 4 times for it because of Ableton. 100%. You know what? It happened. I just love Ableton. I
Eat,
can't
sleep,
myself
breathe,
away.
Ableton, you know. It's,
So I think it's
That's
a case
Bay
of
for
having
now.
that. Yeah, it is Bay, it is.
Yeah.
And I think that chipping away at that at a certain time, even just like anything you want to get good at or comfortable with, just a little bit. Don't overface yourself. But use 10 minutes as well. 10 minutes to look at simpler. 10 minutes.
I wouldn't overthink anything. Like, there are loads of resources on the Ableton website that you can go to and have a look. Ableton does a great job of collaborating with artists that give you insight to the way that they work and the way they approach Ableton. I know some people who use Ableton and they don't even touch MIDI. Everything is analog, straight in. I'm a synth guy. You know, I love my synths. I love my channeling everything through audio, but at the same time, there's just a lot MIDI can do as well. Like, you know, like this random triggering, you know, that's like MIDI and
it's a combination.
It's a combination of both. So I just feel like, yes, you know, just stick to it kind of thing. Even if it's 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, you know, it will get to a point where you will not want to leave Ableton, because you're just so into whatever it is that you're trying to achieve musically, sonically as well.
And I would say, I would ask as well, would you find that Push has been a massive part of speeding up your workflow as well?
Yeah. There's some times I find myself using the Push without looking at Ableton.
Oh wow, okay.
Especially when I'm performing live, it is very handy for that. But then at the same time, when I'm working at home, sometimes I just go, you know what? I'll put the laptop aside, get like a long USB cable, sit on my sofa, and I'm just like on the Push, trying to see what's, you know, while I've got Netflix on in the background, just trying to like come up with something, you know, and then before you know it, you get a little snippet that you can work on later on. So yeah, having, you know, a tool like this that works seamlessly with Ableton, 100% is a game changer. And I just wish a lot more people would. I mean, Timbaland literally changed the way he makes beats when he got the Push. Like, that was a complete, like, he was, enough said.
Audibly
Enough
different.
said.
Someone has asked, what does the Push allow you to do that, say, a piano or keyboard does not?
MIDI.
Yeah.
MIDI. Well, I mean, it depends. If it's a MIDI keyboard or MIDI piano, then you'd think that it would do the same thing. But I think for me anyway, I think this is a hardware extension of this.
Mm-hmm.
So having like, you know, everything here that I can tweak immediately, you know,
Yeah.
so if I'm like running any automation,
Yeah.
using knobs for me is way easier than drawing it with a pencil,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So it's just easier to like kind of feel the beat, and then you're like, you know, tweaking away, doing whatever you want to do, like add a bit of drive while it's just like recording. You're like, oh yeah, a bit of drive, no, a bit more, yeah. You know, it just
Yeah.
it gives you that feeling.
Yeah, it feels more instinctive.
Yeah.
And it does like, oh, I need to get that thing up to there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A piano is great because yeah, you could do chords here as well. I've played chords on this live.
Well, this helps me cheat because my music theory ain't very good. And when I put scale mode on,
It's a game changer.
suddenly I'm Beethoven.
Scale, you've got all the scales over there, and you will. Here's a good thing about it. You will not hit a bum note.
Thank you.
Everyone will
can't.
think you're great. You could touch,
Yeah, I honestly
and they'll be
do.
like,
I'm
oh my
like,
god, you're amazing.
just improvising,
yeah.
guys. Yeah.
You will not hit a bum note. You know, it's a cheat, but it kind of works. At the same time, you can change it to like a full note, you know, keyboard and kind of work with it. I've seen some people do amazing performances with the push too, and you know, hats off to them. But for me, it's kind of like I said, it's an extension of Ableton, but in hardware form, where I can kind of not necessarily rely on what is being shown to me here, but then I can kind of just feel the elements and like just work with it. And the pads are so soft.
They are so soft.
I love the pads.
And changing the colours as well. I can spend an hour on that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Honestly, this has been so inspiring. And thank you, obviously, for your time and for your expertise.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to the Crypt for
Yes.
having us. Thank you to Ableton.
Amazing studio.
Please follow Knox on all platforms immediately.
Follow Pops.
Follow
No.
me as well if you like. Yeah, I'm you know, cheating on Ableton all the time. But yeah, this has been an absolute pleasure. I hope everyone's enjoyed it at home, and thanks to the whole team. And I'm sorry if we missed anyone's questions. We only had a certain amount of time, but I'm sure I can hear feverish keyboardery in the background. So I hope some people's questions are answered. But yeah, blessings.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I hope everyone was able to get at least a bit of information out of it, because this has been amazing for me as well. So,
Loads.
yeah.
Sick.